Dove back with another video. This isn't an update video as such. This is going to be a bit of a video with a difference. This is a kind of a response video. Poster John Bellamy, a VC member who in the UK. I don't know where in the UK John Bellamy is, but recently did a response video to the long-running Stump the VC series by Ron Anderson, aka Mylungpuppy, where John Bellamy showed a couple of items by Current 93. I watched the video and I commented. I subscribed to John, and I commented that I had a couple of items by Current 93. So John requested if I'd show these items. So yeah, so I'll do a response video because I've only a couple of items. Now, for my regular viewers, I will be doing a regular update video, which I will be shooting maybe in the weekend, because I do have a lot more stuff to show, because I was at a record fair last weekend, and I've picked up a lot of other interesting charity thrift stuff, so a lot of stuff to show. So I will be getting back to my kind of regular routine in the next video, which will be coming along soon, but just as kind of a brief deviation from the normal routine with this one. So Current 93, long running, how could, basically David Tibet, aka what's his name again? Michael Bunting, aka David Tibet. He was given that name, by the way, by Genesis P. Orridge of Throbbing Gristle. The sole constant member of Current 93. I mean, Current 93 basically is David Tibet, but you know, he has collaborated with numerous musicians down through the years. Most significantly with Stephen Stapleton of Nursewood Wound. There's kind of a free-flowing kind of thing with them, you know, the members of these various groups. So as I said in my comments on John's video, I only have a couple of items, and as John himself was saying, Current 93 very hard to find in the wild. They tend to be very expensive, and for this reason, I only have a couple of individual items. So now, David Tibet was involved with, he's been involved with many groups. He was kind of temporarily involved with this group, 23 Skidoo. He wasn't actually on this particular album. This album, 7 songs, came out in 1982. He did join them after and was involved in them for a period afterwards, but he's not actually on this on that album. Okay, so he formed Current 93 in 1982. There followed a series of split cassette releases. First album proper was, you know, this is where research is handy. Okay, right. Yeah, okay, so this is This is the second album, Dog's Blood Rising, which originally came out in 1984. Now this is not an original, this is a reissue from 2008. I got this secondhand in my local independent record store in their secondhand section. So that is that is David Tibet there, and that is Stephen Stapleton, his regular collaborator. Yeah, so this originally came out in '84. Now this, in the early work by David Tibet, very much in the kind of traditional industrial genre. This is extreme, very dark, very extreme, very challenging listening. It does owe more to the earlier industrial music, but the Current 93 sound did evolve and did change as time went on. Now these are our inserts which came with it. These are reproducing the original inserts which came with the album. Now, one recurring theme with David Tibet's work and with Current 93 is this kind of apocalyptic take on Christianity. He does have very strong Christian beliefs, but they're kind of comparable really to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. He has collaborated with Nick Cave quite a lot, so it is this kind of very dark take on Christianity. And of course, he's also strongly influenced by things like the occult. Now as he moved along, he into the 80s, David Tibet became more interested in English folk music, and he began to incorporate a kind of a folk influence, and a form of music emerged which became known as neo-folk or apocalyptic folk. Primarily on a 1988 album called Swastikas for Noddy. Yes, I know. Noddy, the Enid Blyton children's character. For those of you who are familiar with it, don't have that album, of course, because originals are extremely expensive. It has been reissued, but also at the same time, or kind of actually before the release of Dog's Blood Rising, he was also collaborating with Genesis P. Orridge and with Psychic TV. So this is Psychic TV's second album, Dreams Less Sweet, and this came out in 1983. This came out on Some Bizarre. This also featured Christopher Sleazy Christopherson and John Balance, who would go on to form Coil, another highly influential Industrial Act. Again, kind of very dark, kind of a lot of stuff, the occult. This is a very kind of weird and kind of dark album. There's a lot of use of traditional Tibetan instruments, and I think that's where his David Tibet's nickname came from, because of his interest in kind of Tibetan rituals and so forth. This is an original. Now, Ben Costello, there's a couple of some of these items I've bought at record fairs. Now, there are primarily two sellers really who kind of specialize in this kind of stuff, in industrial, post-punk, etc. They're both pretty pricey, these two sellers, so that's why I don't buy from them too often. I got this pretty much for what it goes for. It was kind of pricey enough, but this next item I got from the other seller. I think I got kind of ripped off by it on this one, which is why I don't primarily buy from that other seller anymore. Anyway, this is a compilation which came out in 1986. It's called "You Bet We've Got Something Against You." Now it is on Catexus Recordings. Now it does feature a Current 93 track there. It's called "Holy, Holy, Holy" for Dusa. Very strange track. It's basically a kind of a treated tape, kind of a tape loop of a recording of a young boy singing a religious tune. Yeah, so kind of typical kind of weird stuff again from David Tibet and Current 93. So that is one track which was recorded specifically for this compilation. Moving on. Okay, now another group who kind of run parallel with Current 93 and with whom David Tibet has collaborated are a group called Death in June, led by David Pierce. They're somewhat controversial, Death in June. Again, they're kind of instrumental in the neo-folk movement. This is called 93 Dead Sun Wheels. This is a compilation which came out, I think, in 1988. Collaborations between Current 93 and Death in June. Very dark, kind of gothic. Again, kind of primarily dealing with kind of rituals, kind of dark. Personally myself, as I said in one of my previous videos, I don't have any beliefs. I don't have any religious beliefs. I'm an avowed atheist, but I do find music and art that's been influenced by religion and by people's kind of personal religious beliefs. I do find it interesting, and same goes with things like the occult. It's an interesting subject if you don't take it too seriously, but it does create, in my mind, some pretty interesting you know, literature and music and so forth. So so that's actually what label did this come out on? This came out on, so this came out in 1988 on, sorry, sorry, I can't actually, sorry, I can't figure out what label this is. Okay, sorry, again, I should have done my research before I shot this. Nothing worse than showing a record and suddenly finding you don't know what label it came out on. Okay, now just one more item to show. Okay, so this is an unnamed mini album collaboration which David Tibet brought out in 1999 in collaboration with Michael Cashmore and Christopher Heeman. It contains outtakes from various albums which had been released in the few years prior to this, including All the Pretty Horses. Now, one other interesting aspect of David Tibet is he's a big collector of an artist, and he's a big kind of a fan and collector of an artist called Louis Wayne. Now, Louis Wayne, he was primarily active in Victorian. He died in the 1930s, but he's known as an outsider artist. But he was famous for his paintings of cats. This is, I think this painting actually by him. This one. What is a painting of deer? Oh yeah. Primarily did paintings of cats, but David Tibet is a big collector of his paintings and has featured his artwork quite a lot. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, this is actually by Louis Wayne. This painting of deer in the insert, and I think possibly this might be by David Tibet himself. Anyway, this is a limited edition on clear vinyl. I think there's about 2,000 copies pressed in 1999. So this is rare enough. Okay. But by the time this came out, he'd moved more towards a folk acoustic direction. He's recently collaborated with people like what's her name again? Again, oh, excuse me. Yeah, he's moved in a more kind of traditional folk direction, and Shirley Collins. That's the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff with her lately. But he has a rather interesting vocal style as well, which is kind of almost more spoken word. But anyway, so this is a response video to John Bellamy. So as requested, showed my small collection of Current 93 related vinyl. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back with a regular update pretty soon. So see you then.